In Hebrews chapter 10, let's go to a brighter moment. Because this chapter, I honestly thought when I was studying for chapter 8, I thought, oh, chapter 9 and 10, we're going to breeze through really quick. No, we're not. There's just so much good. I want to get to chapter 10, verse 19, really bad. But we got to do the beginning here. Everybody done their readings? So we'll read. What I want you to do, what we're going to do in this passage, in the very beginning, verses 1 through 18, what he's doing is a lot of repetitiveness of what we've already studied, so I don't have to go into a lot of detail. But the things I want you to see as we're going through this passage are where he is quoting from the Old Testament, because it's very powerful of who is Christ. Remember, we're looking at some of the works that we have through this high priest, the blessings we have through this high priest. That's why verse 19, really through 25, is just so powerful to me. And so I really want to look at the two passages they're quoting from. It's about Christ, we're talking about the blessings, and this is what we're holding on to. Okay? So we'll start in verse 1. We'll read through. If you have a question, you have a comment, you're going to have to jump in. Okay? For since the law has brought about the shadow of good things to come instead of the true form of these realities, it can never, by the same sacrifices that are continually offered every year, to make perfect those who draw near. Are we good on all this? Because this is honestly what we have been studying for about 2 weeks. So the Old Testament is a good thing because it is foreshadowing what is going to happen into the future. What is everything in the Old Testament pointing to? Jesus Christ. Thank you. It's all about Jesus. It's all about we need a Messiah. You cannot do it on your own. There's only one way to God, and it's through Jesus Christ. Are these things in the Old Testament good for us to understand? Why? So you can understand the New Testament better. You can know who God is. You can see, it's really funny. People are like, oh, you can't see the true love of God in the Old Testament. Really? My goodness. Read it again. It's phenomenal, his love for us. And it just foreshadows. You can see God. You can see how he wants to dwell with us. He just can't. There's something missing. And he's preparing us. If the New Testament just came in, I don't think we fully understood it. I just don't think we'd fully understand it. We needed something to come before it. Did somebody come before Jesus Christ? Before Jesus could come onto the scene? What was his name? John the Baptist. If Jesus just arrived, God understood somebody had to come and make straight the way. Get ready, people. And so the Old Testament is doing the same thing. Get ready. And so didn't have to continually do it. Jesus has done it once. Otherwise, I'm in verse 2. Otherwise they would not have been ceased to offer, since the worshipers, having once been cleansed, would no longer have any consequences of sins. But in these sacrifices, there's a reminder of sin every year. So going back, he's saying, look, the old sacrificial system doesn't work. All it was doing was reminding us of our sin. For it is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sins. We've already studied it. Consequently, when Christ came into the world, he said, please listen. Sacrifices and offerings you have not desired, but a body you have prepared for me. In burnt offering and sin offerings you have taken no pleasure. Then I say, behold, I have come to do your will, O God, for it is written in the book of the scroll. When he said the above, you have neither desired or taken pleasure in sacrifice and offerings and burnt offerings and sin offerings, these offered according to the law. Then he added, behold, I have come to do your will. He does away with the first in order to establish the second. So who are we talking about all this time? Jesus. This is all about Christ. He has come in, not the blood of bulls and goats. And what did he do? This is the best part. Verse 7. What did Jesus do in verse 7? God's will. Who said it? Is that Matt? Thank you. Because that's going to come up in verses 19 and through 19 and to the end, talking about us. If Christ is going to do God's will, then we must do God's will as well. Must. Okay? I was actually going to go over to Ephesians. And you know that part where he's talking about, women submit to your husbands? Who else is supposed to submit? There's 5 people who submit in that passage. Who are the others? So that's why we need to study that a little bit more. One of them is Jesus. And if Jesus understands submission and understands following God's will, who else should? Us. Okay? He did this. Verse 10, and by that will, there we go, and by that will, whose will? Will of God, we have been sanctified through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once and for all. God says, this is how you can come into a relationship with me. It's going to be through my son. My son, go. And what does the son do? He goes. We always talk about the love of Jesus has for us. I believe that. I'm in 100%. Man, you talk about the love of God to offer his son for us. And Jesus says, because he's asked me to do this, he wants me to do this, and this is his will, this is how we come into relationship, he does it once and for all. Verse 11. And every priest, stands daily at his service, offering repeatedly same sacrifices, which can never take away sins. We studied it already, you don't need to go into that. But when Christ had offered for all time a single sacrifice for sins, he sat down at the right hand of God. Talked about it, but don't need to look at it. Waiting for that time until the enemies should be made a footstool for his feet. That's fantastic. Where does that come from? Yeah, comes from Psalms, talking about how, explain this to me. What's a footstool? Why is he using the picture in your mind for a footstool? He's doing it for a reason. Huh? Yeah, it's to rest your feet, but what does it symbolize? He says your enemies are a footstool to you. I can't hear you guys. Okay, they're underneath you. Yeah, they're in subject. Okay. Elevated. Are your feet clean? No, not necessarily. Yeah. This is not like the most glorious part of your body. And he's saying, you're underneath my foot. Did that ever happen in Genesis? Was there anything talking about that in Genesis? Tells the serpent what? You're going to bruise my heel, but I'm going to do what to you? With what? Yeah. He puts him under. This is superiority. This is, you are nothing. When Jesus talks about this very same thing in the New Testament, talking about hospitality, where do they put the poor? The rich come up here, you come to the places of honor, and the poor, you sit by my feet. Well, that's a show of disrespect. That's a show of you're not worth anything. That was the show of you sit down there because the good's up here. And so when you get this whole picture, there's a reason Bible uses these amazing pictures for us to understand the spiritual significance. And he's saying, look, you're nothing. My feet are on you. I'm resting on you. I have you in subject, and I rule. I've crushed your head. You're in a position of disgrace. And so he says, I've taken away the enemies. What is the enemy that he has taken away? Sin. That's all there is to it. He has defeated sin, and he has put that. I'm in verse 14. For by a single offering he has perfected for all time those who have been sanctified. And the Holy Spirit also bears witness to us, for after saying, this is the covenant I will make with them, who? What covenant? With his people, with his church, okay? His people. After those days, declares the Lord, I will put my law on their hearts and write them on their minds. Then he adds, I will remember their sins and lawless deeds no more. Before you get forgiveness, what do you got to do? Be in submission, yeah. What are you doing with the law? What does he say in verse 16? Put it on our hearts and on our minds. If you put something on your heart, on our hearts and our minds, then it comes out in our actions. That we had we had like a breakfast for all the Bowie ISD employees, and we had Teacher of the Year and all this. We had district people. And when they gave the awards for like all district elementary teacher and all district secondary teacher, they always talk about their passion. They have such a passion to teach kids. They love kids. They want to make a difference. Because they want to make a difference, they love these kids, even though there are times when they're unruly, and we can talk about all that. Man, they say they have a passion for their job, and it just comes out. This is what he's talking about here. When it's written on your hearts and in your minds, there's a passion that just comes out. It has to be about God in your life. Does that make sense? And if that's where it's at, then you're going to be in a right relationship with God, so you will be righteous. You're going to be doing righteous things. You're going to be in relationship with him. Remember, this is talking to Christians, not non-Christians. He's writing to the church. And he's talking about us having this thing written on our hearts, in our minds, coming out into our actions, and then what happens to us? It's beautiful. Verse 17. We have a relationship because there's no sin. Because my son has made that sacrifice for you, and your sins I'll remember no more. Isn't that incredible, what we have as Christians? Do we take that bad boy for granted? Yes or no? Absolutely. And verse 16 is not talking about legalism of get it right, listen to every word, dot every I, cross every T, do. This is understanding. This is a passion. Does that make sense? There's a difference. What's the difference between legalism and passion? I got to chew my. Yeah. Legalism, if you didn't hear that, legalism is you have to. Passion is that you want to. I'll agree with that all day. Anybody else? I love it. Key word there, that motivation. Why are you doing this? Absolutely. Can you be a teacher and just get a paycheck? Absolutely. But I've also met unpassionate teachers. I'm at the end of my career just trying to get it done. I'm getting a paycheck. Yeah. So we can be Christians without passion, right? So, and I'm just trying to see that because the reason I'm talking about this, because when we get to verse 19, get excited. Y'all excited now? Woo! You need to get up and shake it out a little bit, get a little excitement going in your body. You need some coffee? You need a donut? All right, we'll just use Jesus. How's that sound? All right. Look at verse 19. Therefore, now if we have this confidence, we have this passion, if we understand what Jesus has done for us, going back to verses 5 through 7, therefore, brothers, since we have confidence to enter the holy place by the blood of Jesus, explain that to me. What confidence do you have because of Jesus Christ? It is the forgiveness of sins, but keep going here. I can't hear you. Okay, the salvation part of this, look at verse 19. Explain verse 19. You get to enter something. Huh? Okay? There's some prayer going on here. The people at this time, under the Jewish law, could not enter the Holy of Holies. Not allowed. Who? The only person could? High priest. Who's our high priest now? Jesus Christ. I can't go over that anymore. Done for about 6 or 7 chapters. Because of what he's done, he's tore the curtain. Talked about that already. Where do you get to enter? You get to enter into the holy places. What does that mean? Yeah, you get to draw near to God. You get to be in his presence. When you pray, who are you? We just take prayer so for granted. Who are you in the presence of in your prayer? The almighty creator, the all-powerful, the omnipotent creator. And I can have this prayer with him. I can have a relationship. Now, I use that very vaguely. I got really, I had a friend of mine who he got onto me. I love this guy. He's a preacher. He goes, if you ever use a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, I'm going to kill you. I was like, whoa, that's kind of hurting there. He goes, you can have a relationship with God, right? You can have that relationship. You can draw near to him. But remember, he's still God and you're just human. Remember that, right? Joe, you have a funny look. Are you okay? But we have a confidence. Now hold on to this word, confidence. How many people do you know in Christianity have confidence? You understand? What is confidence? What does confidence mean? You know. Okay, that's good. Keep going. Come on, explain confidence. What? Assuredness, okay? There's no doubt. Liking it? Anybody else? Okay. Sure. Okay. You can defend. Anything else? Say that again. I like that. Okay, I think we're all going in a great direction here. Man, you're staking your life on it. Your decisions is this confidence. He goes, you can have confidence by what? By the new and living way that he opened for us through the curtain, that is through his flesh. He tore the curtain at his death. And since we have a great priest over the house of God, he goes, because of this new and living way. Don't you like that? There's a new, and it's alive. This isn't just a law that we do and we give a sacrifice, and here's my goat, here's my dove, here's my sheep. He goes, now we get to have a living relationship. It's being in the presence of God, and we have this living relationship because of Christ. So do you guys underline your Bible yet? Do you believe in that yet? I don't know how many times I've gone through this. There's three things. I put boxes, then I got a squiggly line, and then I got a full line. I put a box around the first two words here, at least in my Bible. 22 says, let us. There's three let us. 22, 23, and 24. He says, you can have confidence through Jesus Christ. Therefore, let us, first one, what are we supposed to do? Draw near with a true heart. So I put my squiggly line under draw near. Man, that's awesome. That's powerful. Let us draw near with what? A full assurance of faith. I put a single line underneath that. So I can draw. That's a powerful statement for me, that I can draw near to the all-creator with a full assurance of faith, with our hearts sprinkled clean from every evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water. Interesting. Sprinkled clean from evil conscience. What do you see? What's the reference? You know this. We've already studied it. I don't know how many times. Huh? Yeah. So the high priest will walk into the Holy of Holies, sprinkle the blood on the altar there. Once for him, comes back. Once for the people. Christ has done that. Okay? And then the washing of pure water. I wish I had more time, because you just find purification of water from the Old Testament all the way into the New Testament. And so he says that we get to purify ourselves through this. It's a cleansing, that what he's talking about here. Okay? So the first let us is drawing near to God with a full assurance of faith. Do you remember what James says about faith? What do we do really well in our Christianity? Faith plus doubt. And what does James say? What does that faith look like? Huh? Yeah, okay. He uses the terminology just on the water. Toss to and fro. Called faith and doubt. I can't tell you how many Christians I hear saying, I believe in God, but... You believe you're going to heaven? I do, but... But? Why are you butting this? Do you believe in God? You got the full assurance? Let's go with this. Have a full assurance of faith. You can put your full assurance of faith in him. You can put no full assurance of faith in anything else. Can you put it into your money? No. Can you put your full assurance of faith in your husband and your wife? No. Don't look at her. Don't look at her. Don't do that. Just stare at me. Okay. Can you put your full assurance of faith in your job? No. Can you put your full assurance of faith in your life that you'll be here tomorrow? There's nothing you can put your full assurance of faith in except one thing: God. If you die tomorrow, I love you. I don't want to die tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to walking my wife, not my wife, my daughter down the aisle for her wedding. I'm looking forward to holding my grandson one day or my granddaughter. I'm looking forward to those things. But if I die tomorrow, I just gained everything because my assurance and my faith is in God. Does it make sense? Okay? You can't do anything. So you draw near to this. Verse 23, let us then, we can draw near. Then he says, let us hold fast. To what? To the confession of our hope without wavering. Again, going back to that faith. For he who is promised is faithful. He goes, so you can draw near to him, then you can hold fast to him. It's something you get up and you can hold on to. We put our hope in him. Remember, this is not a wishing hope. When he talks about hope, it's never a wishing hope. It's an assurance of hope, okay? Without wavering. Why? Tell me why we can do that with the end of verse 23. This is the best part, one of the best parts. Is that what it says in your version? I love it. What? He is faithful. You can hold on to him because he is faithful. You can go back to the Old Testament over and over again, faithful. He always fulfills his promises. He's not going to not fulfill his promises to us and what we can put our faith into. Okay, so the first one, you get to draw near. The second part, you get to hold fast. Verse 24, and then let us, now this is the part we need. We can draw near. We hold on to God. Now what do we get to do? Consider how to stir up one another. So I put let us as my box. Stir up is my squiggly line. To me, that's powerful. To do what? To love and good works. That's my line. So my box, my squiggly, and my line. Why is this part so important? Yeah. It's the church, and it's how we need to support one another, how to go through everything. Let me talk about verse 25. Not neglecting to meet together as the habit of some, but encouraging one another all the day, as all the more you see the day drawing near. How do we always use this passage of Scripture in context? How do we usually quote? Come to church. Is that what he's talking about? You better be here at 10:30. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24 says it. Is that context? Is that what we're talking about? Yes or no? I got a yes? Okay. Anybody else? I think there's both. I think I'm with you on this. Do we have the opportunity to come together on the first day of the week to remember Jesus Christ and his Son? 100% yes. And when you need it, I don't know about you, but I 100% need the time that we have together. I need this time. To be really honest, I enjoy preaching. I love this. I love this. I wish preaching was this. Okay? We won't open that can of worms. We'll just walk away. You need the time of worship during the week, but in context, it's not what he's talking about here. You need to be fellowshipping with one another a lot. Why? Well, you're not even getting up. You want to hear what they say. That's powerful. Yeah. To motivate, to encourage. Come on, Gary. You want to say something? Mm-hmm. And more than just right here. Mm-hmm. No. No. Ooh. Okay, you get to preach on that. Okay, anybody else? Really? Oh, that's right. Say what you want to say and let me clean it up. That's fine. I love it, man. I love it. Come on, let's talk about this for a second. I'm not against if you say that this is about a time of worship. I have no problem with that. I'll agree with you on that. I believe that, and I think that we need to definitely do this. When he's talking about hold fast, consider to stir up one another. We get to stir up one another, but I don't really get to stir you up. I hope the song service is good, that you're stirred up a little bit. I hope the preaching's okay, that you're kind of stirred up. Maybe some toes are stepped on a little bit. I don't know. But a really good stirring up is when you're together with one another, spending time with one another, and talking about Jesus Christ. Okay? Yeah. Okay? Abs- yeah. And a lot. I've heard this preached one time, and I do not agree with that at all. It's like, oh, if you miss services, it's a sin. Because of Hebrews chapter 10, verse 25. I don't want to neglect the time when we have together because I need it. Because I need to hold fast and draw near, and I need you. So I'm not going to neglect the time I get. If I have the opportunities, go ahead. Yes, absolutely. I need this. Yeah, so I don't look at worship as my job. I look at worship as I need this to get through the week. So I'm not going to neglect it. I'm going to take opportunity to do this. But we need to go beyond the 30 minutes or whatever it is, and have some time of fellowship. Ladies, Lee's Bible class, why are you so close? You love each other? Why do you love each other? Because you talk. During my sermon? It's not been very good lately. We've been. Yeah, yeah, sure. How do you know when to lean, how to lean, and who else is struggling if you don't spend time with one another? You ladies are incredible in this church. One, you get to have that Bible class together. Who plays dominoes? Come on. Who plays some dominoes? I played once. You haven't invited me back, just saying that out loud. But that's fine. Snacks were phenomenal. I lost. That's all I can tell you. Around those dominoes, you're building relationships. Okay? You're building relationships. People ask why our young adults are so close. Can I tell you why? We get together. We hang out. And we do things together. And the kids play in the backyard. Why do these kids play so well together, like they know each other? It's not just because of school, because they're in different grades, because they play in the backyard. You understand? You're only going to grow close by the time you spend with one another. And so he's saying, let's take some time and to stir the other person up. You're not going to know if I'm struggling if we don't spend time with together, because I don't have time to tell you anything because I'm shaking hands at the back of the door. You see what I'm saying? And we got to get to those Chili's, right? We're 11:30, the Baptists are 12. You got to get there. We have a time window, right? So we were out the door. So you need to spend this time. Does it work for both? I'll give you yes. Is it in the context of worship? I'm going to tell you no. He's talking about here our full assurance of faith needs to be found with one another, and it's so important that we spend time with one another. So I don't have a lot of time because Gary left. That means I'll only have a few minutes. In my bottom of my Bible, I will show you, I wrote in purple. I don't know if you probably can't see that, but on the bottom of my Bible, on the very bottom, I wrote in purple, confidence, with an arrow, let us, quotations. I have everything underlined like I told you. Right beside that, I put why, question mark, 26 through 31. The reason we have to have this and do these things to draw close to God, hold fast to his promises, finding our hope, and then encouraging one another to draw close to God and hold to God. That's why we're stirring one another up, so that we are all drawing close and we're all holding fast together as a church. Verse 26 through 31 will tell you, because you can fall away. For if we go on sinning deliberately after receiving the knowledge of truth, there's no longer remains a sacrifice for sins. What he's talking about there is some of them are still sinning. And there's a problem. You can fall away from God. and away from this relationships and from this relationship with God. And so that's verses 26 through 31. The second reason is perseverance. Okay? When he's talking about here, look at verse 32. For you recall the former days when you were enlightened. You endured the what? Hard struggles and suffering, sometimes being publicly exposed to reproach and affliction, and sometimes being partners with those those so treated. So what he's saying here is that because of your faith in the past, you were persecuted. So hold on. How do you hold on from falling away and going back into a sinful lifestyle? How do we hold on and still draw close to God so that when we are persecuted, and you will be persecuted if you're a Christian out there and talking about Jesus Christ, you will be persecuted, especially in our culture. Okay? How do we hold on? You draw close to God, you hold on to God, and you hold on to one another. That's what the chapter's about. Okay? That's why I love this. This chapter will preach on its own. This is a great Bible study. If you ever want to do a deeper study, there's some really good wording and some words in there that you can go. I'll read verse 37. For a little while, and the coming one will come and will not delay. But my righteous one shall live by faith. And if he shrinks back, my soul has no pleasure in him. That one should kind of scare you. Why? It did me. Lose yourself. He goes, look, he's coming back. He's coming back. The one who did those God's will is coming back. But my righteous one shall live by faith. Faith in what? Draw close to God, hold to God. There's where you put your faith. And if he shrinks back, goes back to where we were, sinful condition, my soul has no pleasure in him. That's why, in my opinion, it is so important that we understand this part of Hebrews. It's just so powerful to me. You know, got to hold to God. Hold to God. Draw near to him. Most of all, I couldn't get through this without you, right? Could not get through this without you. And so we need to hold to one another, stirring each other for love, loving one another. We all come to the table with something. Love them. Okay? We're not perfect. Did you know I'm not perfect? Did you know Kay Holloway is not perfect? We all come to the table, right? But we love one another, and then we stir. Hey, we're not perfect, but we're child of God, children of God. Let's go. Let's stir it up, and let's get some things done for God in our own works and then out there in this world so that people can know about who Jesus is.